The moment I realized I was having a lot of fun with Two Point Museum was in the Whalon Lodge Museum level. Here, you build and manage all the aspects of a haunted museum where the main attraction is famous ghosts like Margaret Fitzpocket, or the famous dead wizard Altus Spiffenmore. Side note, I like that the parody of Harry Potter names is basically a Harry Potter name. But also in this museum are a series of cursed objects, including this doll, who I renamed Susie Sparkles. At one point, I realized she was watching me. Not only that, she was following me. In fact, no matter where I was in the museum, Susie was watching. Inspecting the doll, I found that she gives guests a debuff called Dump Scare, which essentially I think means they just take scary bad poops and mess up your toilets faster. It really feels like the people who made Two Point Museum were having a lot of fun while doing it, and that certainly has rubbed off. The game is the third in a series of management sims. There was Two Point Hospital, then Two Point Campus, and now here we are. I've played the two previous ones, and I have to say this third entry is quickly becoming my favorite. It's not just the sense of humor, though that really is a breath of fresh air. I've been playing a lot of serious games recently, and this game feels like it wants to make me smile. And more often than not, it does, and I really appreciate that. But in addition to all the weird British silliness, they've added a lot of complexity to the management mechanics. So, if you're not familiar with it, in Two Point Museum you play as the curator of 5 museum sites, each with a different theme, and you're in charge of everything. You design and decorate the museums. You train your staff and send them out on expeditions to find the exhibits, then place those exhibits in your museum in the most compelling way possible. You make sure your guests are well fed, have access to toilets, and have fun experiences in exhibits like the Seance Simulator. You could create guided tours themed around specific types of exhibits, or use one-way doors to make sure your guests have to walk through the gift shop before they leave. Overall, your goal here is to increase your guests' knowledge and their buzz, which is essentially excitement, and that leads to more money, which means you could buy more exhibits, which leads to more money, and you know the drill. I've never thought of the Two Point series as the deepest of strategy games. It's always gone for a wider approach, meaning there are a lot of different systems, but you don't need like a spreadsheet to understand them individually. The challenge comes from spinning a bunch of plates at the same time. Two Point Museum doesn't necessarily deviate from that approach, but it does add a good amount of complexity to how these systems interact. There's a lot of game here. One of my most enjoyed mechanics so far is the game's expedition system. You send your staff out to explore points of interest across 5 different maps. After exploring, they bring back exhibits or other items to the museum. You have to match your staff's ability with the requirements of each location and train them in specific skills which can counter events during their exploration, like getting stuck in a fondue lake, which gives them fondue shoes, slowing them down. While each map is thematically linked to specific museums, you can and should mix and match the exhibits, and the game encourages you to do so, especially with exhibits that provide bonuses to anything around them, like the Judgment Clouder, which creates an area of effect that improves your guest's experience by spraying chemicals on them. There's a loot box type system to the exhibits where you can continue to explore the same point of interest and get higher quality versions of each of the exhibits. You know, the usual system of average, great, to epic, to pristine, which then of course gives you better bonuses at the museum. I don't always love these systems, as they could get kinda clicky and grindy, and it does a bit here. But with this, I was actually invested in getting the best exhibit for my museum, and I think a lot of that is because the game does a very good job of letting you customize and build the museum that you see in your head. At one point, I realized I had dinosaur footprint decals, and I suddenly remembered a museum I visited as a kid that had footsteps on the ground that made a path that you could follow, so I made that here. Now, it didn't change the score of the game, but it did make the museum more like mine. And that's a lot of what I look for in games like this. And Two Point has a good amount of customization options. There's room to make it your own. Now, there are some negatives. I got the early 5-day Explorer access because I'm a sucker, and I definitely ran into bugs. Nothing terrible, and if they keep on patching, I'm sure it'll smooth it all out. And for as much care as the game wants you to put into design, in some ways you could just randomly place things down willy-nilly to get your scores up. There is no shortage of 2-point bathrooms I've created whose decoration score I've solved by just drowning them in a stupid amount of plants. Overall, though, I'm having a great time. If you're a fan of the series, I can't really see a reason why you wouldn't enjoy this. And for $30, this is providing a bigger value per dollar than a lot of the AAA releases I've played recently. I've still got plenty more I want to play around with in the game, so let me know if you'd like to see more videos about 2 Point Museum. And please do like, comment, and subscribe. I'm still figuring out what this channel is right now, and that feedback really does help me know what content to focus on. And in the meantime, thanks for watching.